This happened when I was a kid back in the early 1990s. It was a cold winter's evening when my best friend Alex and I did something we had no business doing. There was an abandoned factory on the outskirts of Detroit. Nestled within an old industrial park, the factory stood like a relic, untouched for decades. It was during this time that the big three automotive companies were trying to find places to set up new factories to bring back jobs to the city. We knew that the factory was scheduled to be torn down soon. Once the location made the news, there would be security guards posted, and there would be no way to get inside the building. Driven by a curiosity that defied reason, we found ourselves irresistibly drawn to the two-story monolith. We had spent weeks casing the area, studying every nook and cranny, until finally we discovered a hidden entrance, our portal into the unknown. As we stepped across the threshold, a wave of bone-chilling coldness welcomed us, and the musty scent of dampness filled the air. My guess was no one had been breathing the stale air since the early 1980s. I almost gagged at each breath, but luckily, my buddy pulled out a few bandanas and pointed down. Our breath hung visibly in front of us, a tangible reminder of the desolation surrounding us. Undeterred, we ventured deeper into the labyrinthine corridors, guided only by the dim glow of our flashlights. Our exploration led us to sub-basements and hidden tunnels, exposed by the decay of time. Each step we took echoed with a sense of foreboding. The walls, stripped bare by years of neglect, revealed glimpses of their former glory. But it was the distant sounds that made our hearts race and pulses quicken. We froze in our steps, listening hard. After a minute, my buddy pointed to the wall. Shining a flashlight, we saw what looked like 2 or 3 small mice running across by the corners and disappeared into a hole. Mice, I can stand. They tend to be a bit more docile when in small numbers. Alex was slightly taller than me and looked up at the ceiling and took notes on what would probably fall down over time. I generally looked at doors and floors. When we made our way into what, I assume, was an executive corner office, Alex gave a passing glance and pointed back to the hallway. I stopped and grabbed his arm. Just past the dirty, heavy desk was a wall-mounted bookshelf. What was interesting was that the bookshelf was leaning to one side, and a sliver of light shone from behind it. I was around the desk in a flash, tapping and flashing my light around the area. It took a few minutes, but I could make out metal tracks that held the bookshelf up. After lifting it up and pushing it back to the wall, it easily slid to the side, revealing the door. Alex could tell that I was excited. We high-fived each other and tried the door. It was stuck and couldn't be opened easily. I remembered a trick about doors without a key. I used my laminated school ID and slid it between the door frame and the door. After a few tries, I pushed the latch and latch plate and pulled the door open. Magic. The hallway exuded an aura of desolation, with its whitewashed brick walls bearing the scars of time. There was a sense of abandonment that clung to the air, as if the corridor had been forgotten by the world, left to decay in perpetual darkness. The flickering beam of my flashlight danced across the cold, uneven surface, revealing the texture of the worn bricks and highlighting the stains left by years of neglect. I would have felt better if there were some graffiti or signs of water damage, but there was only the coldness and light dust that hung in the air, reflected by our flashlights. A pale blue light, feeble and distant, beckoned from the far end of the hallway. Its faint glow struggled to penetrate the thick veil of darkness that consumed the corridor. It appeared ethereal, almost otherworldly, casting long, eerie shadows along the path ahead. The light offered a glimmer of hope, yet its feebleness only deepened the sense of foreboding that coursed through me. I looked at it as if I was being hypnotized, but I was too scared to want to look at it for any length of time. As we continued, I heard the faintest whisper and a breeze brushed against my skin. The absence of sound made my footsteps feel like an invader, as if disturbing a long-held secret. It was as though the very walls absorbed any noise, preserving the mysteries hidden within. The whisper, though, seemed distant and getting clearer with each step. Alex stopped and turned back to me. "What did you say?" Alex pointed his flashlight down at my shoes and looked in my direction. I paused. I didn't say nothing. I was too afraid to ask what he heard. It was too creepy to start talking about voices when you're lost in some underground maze in the city. Our parents wouldn't be looking for us for a half a day, and they had no idea where we were. Acting like you heard voices was a sure way to get found. With every step, my stomach knotted up and felt queasy. I wanted to use the bathroom. I wanted to throw up. I wanted to get the heck out of there. The pale blue light in the distance remained just out of reach, tantalizingly close, yet perpetually distant. It flickered, as if teasing us, leading me deeper into the heart of the darkness. Both of us were trying to be quiet, but also excited by the mysterious phenomenon. We pressed on, drawn to the enigmatic source, my heart pounding with a mixture of curiosity and fear. In that dimly illuminated, desolate hallway, I couldn't help but feel a presence, something unseen watching from the shadows. I felt a breeze again, and this time, I saw Alex rub arms. It felt as though the very walls were holding back a mountain of snow and ice, and I could see my breath in the air. Then there were new noises, light whispers, a symphony of shifting debris and settling structures. Gradually, the whispers grew into shuffling, accompanied by an unsettling growl that sent shivers down our spines. It was then that we saw them, shadowy figures standing motionless in the tunnel's depths, their pale, gaunt faces staring blankly into corners of the wall. I put my hand over my mouth to stop a flow of screams from pouring out. We froze and started looking around with our lights down. Alex turned off his flashlight. I did the same, hoping we didn't get their attention. Fear gripped us tightly, and we knew it was time to bail out. We returned to the door to get the hell out of Dodge. Once we got to the door, I tried to push it open but saw that there was no doorknob. Alex was urging me to open the door. I told him to see for himself, shining a flashlight on a flat door panel. We heard what could only be described as a grunt you would hear a pig make when eating, echoing from a distance. There were a few more grunts, not very loud, but very distinct. Alex swore under his breath, and we started pushing the door. With every push, we made a noise. For each try, I could hear the grunts and low moans getting closer. With every ounce of strength, we pulled and tugged, but the door refused to budge. Alex pushed me aside and started to kick the door like some firefighter trying to get inside a burning house. After a few tries, the door squeaked, and I realized the bookshelf must have slid back and partially blocked the door. I shifted in front of him and shined my light at the door, and saw that the kicks were moving the bookshelf. Kick there. I pointed my flashlight just about where the doorknob would be. Kick harder. Alex took a few steps back and did a few flying kicks. After the third time, there was a loud clunking noise and the door cracked open. The figures in the darkness drew closer, their low growls growing louder and more menacing. Adrenaline coursing through our veins, we made a split-second decision. Slamming the door shut behind us, we fought to secure it, knowing that our lives hung in the balance. A stampede of pounding and growling erupted from the other side, chilling us to the core. I held the door in place and pointed to the bookshelf. Alex was hyperventilating, but moved to the adjacent wall. He yelled, pushing the heavy bookshelf until it covered the door fully. We stepped back and heard scratching, but leaning on the desk, I had an idea. We turned and started to drag the heavy desk in front, hoping to stop whatever it was from coming through. Alex tapped me on the arm, and we turned to leave the office, back into the main factory floor and through the broken-down opening that gave us passage back outside. Breathless and trembling, we collapsed into the relative safety of the open alley, vowing never to return to that damn factory. I could see tears on Alex's face and traces of snot hanging from his nose. I'm sure I looked the same. When we got a few blocks away, we stopped at the corner where we would always meet before school. We nodded, but instead of giving our signature handshake, Alex pulled me in for a bro hug and squeezed the air out of me. We didn't talk about that place after that. Alex had called me out of the blue this year, and he asked me what happened to that factory. A quick check on Google Maps showed that the building was right where it had always been. He said that one of the auto companies was going to expand into that area. I don't think anyone ever bothered to go back inside to check out the building or find those people. I hope I never find out.